We have their family lawyer who's joining us now for our next conversation, Julius Juma. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Asante sana for joining us, Wakili. It's a sad moment. I know it's been a tough week for you, so I'm not going to ask you good morning. I'm going to ask you, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm trying to be okay. Yeah.
As best as can be.
Yes, as best as can be.
Sawa. We'll welcome you to the conversation with a quote. Janet is going to give you the quote, the words, and who said those words, and let's see whether they relate or you relate with them today.
Absolutely. Arundhati Roy, who is a author and activist, and he said, there's really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only the deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard. There's really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only the deliberately silenced or the preferably unheard. How does that resonate with you, especially in the wake of everything that's happening?
Who's the author
He's
again?
called Arundhati Roy. So he said, I apologize. She said
Arundhati Roy.
Yeah, she was accepting a Sydney Peace Prize in 2004, and she was addressing global injustice. Yes, and I think this was from a lot of her work, which is, there's really no such thing as the voiceless. There are only those who are deliberately silenced or those who are preferably unheard.
Absolutely.
You agree with that?
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly, most people are silenced, are forced to keep quiet. Everybody who, if there were no circumstances that would force people to not speak, everybody would have a reason to say something. So I agree that there's nothing like people who are not able to speak. People are forced either not to speak or are just silenced.
Yeah, silenced.
Yes.
And I think what we've seen over the last week and what is keeping Albert's memory alive is that people chose not to be silent.
Certainly.
The country pushed back. The country is calling for justice, is calling for action, and is calling also for what Eric has alluded to, just to stand with the family. And just as we get into the conversation, I like how he said, you know, how are you? Beyond that, how is Albert's family doing? How are his parents doing? The child, the wife, how are they all doing? How are they holding up?
As we speak, they are trying to be okay now. They are starting to accept the fact that their son is normal. The father was the first person to get this information. And as at now, he has certainly accepted that his son is normal. The widow, the mother, and the little boy came to Nairobi recently to view the body, to confirm for themselves that indeed the husband or the son or the father to the little boy is normal. So speaking with them as late as yesterday, they have accepted that their son is gone, and moving forward is what their focus is now, how to move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a tough one. During this time, I know there are very many, people that they have to deal with.
Sure.
They've had to deal with, just looking from government side, they've had to deal with the police itself. We know that the Internal Affairs Unit was investigating this matter, the IPOA was investigating this matter. How are they treating them? How are those entities actually treating Mzee Meshak when they summon him, when they call him, when you're there, you're present?
Yeah, I was present with them the whole day on Friday when we visited IPOA, and I must say that IPOA was very receptive. We were very happy. We stayed there for nearly 5 hours. And basically why we went there was to go and give our side of the story. Because at the moment, the news of the death of Albert broke, there were a lot of stories, there were a lot of explanations that would have been given by various people who had something to say. But for the first time on Friday, the family was called to go and also speak. And so, yes, we were there on Friday in IPOA offices. We recorded the family member statements. And I must say that IPOA treated us well, and the family was happy. And we only hope, in fact, the first press statement we made on Sunday last week was that we did not expect any other organ to handle this matter, because this is a death that occurred at a police station in a police cell. Ideally, it is the police that investigate crimes, but this is a scenario where it is the police that is the suspect. So we do not expect that this is a matter that would have been handled or investigated by the police. And so we requested that IPOA swings into action and take over the conduct of this matter, and that happened. And so we only hope that they will go deep and get us the true masterminds of this, because there are stories that this death was masterminded by senior police officers. We have seen arrests being conducted involving junior people. The junior people, if at all they were involved, they must have been acting under some instructions. So it's well, let the junior people that have been arrested answer to the reasons for which they have been arrested, but let us see more. Yeah.
There's so many, this whole case obviously has blown wide open just a lot of the injustices that can happen in custody. I'm interested in understanding your current line of pursuing justice, because number one, they're speaking to the mortuary attendants, for example, right? Because there was signs of physical injury. There's also allegations of CCTV footage that's been tampered with. What is it right now that you as Julius are saying, this is where we really need to understand what went wrong, even as we pursue the long line of injustices? What's your greatest concern as you're pursuing this long line of injustices?
Our greatest concern is interference with investigations and interference with evidence. Because just by deleting, if at all it is true that footages were deleted, what was the reason? The reason is whoever did this was aware that it was captured somewhere, and that was evidence. Footprints were left behind that they needed to delete, and that was the first step. So what more did they do that we are not aware of? So our major interest right now is that evidence should be preserved. There should be no interference with evidence or interference with investigation, and the investigating authorities should be free to do their work without getting instructions from elsewhere, without bowing to pressure. Yes.
You know, there are very many statements that have been made since then, right? We've seen the police bosses going before Parliament, speaking under oath and just giving like a chronology of what was happening. Officers came to the home. Officers explained the reason why they're at the home. Officers picked Albert. Officers drove off with Albert to a police station nearby. From then, they drove to Nairobi. At some point, when he was booked in, he was given a phone to call his wife, and he spoke to the wife, and he said he was fine. Is there any part of this statement that you take issue with?
Absolutely. It's quite unfortunate that when senior officers, the IG, the DCI, went to Parliament, they were overly defensive. And the reason they were overly defensive was either they did not take this matter seriously, or that they did not ask for answers from the people who should have given them the answers. That is why later on they would change their stories and the IG would give public apology. Why did they do that? Because when they went to Parliament with either a concocted story or they're taking a position that they want to be defensive. Now that being overly defensive is what we have issues with. And that is why even the unfolding events subsequent to that, we do not know actually whether to be happy about them, whether they are voluntary or whether they are compelled or whether they are reactionary.
Or whether they are still part of the script.
Yes, whether they are still part of the script, certainly.
Sorry, just before you get in, Eric, what's the chronology of events as far as you know from Meshach's father, from Meshach's family, and then of course now from the authorities? I know things get blurry there.
Sure. The chronology of event is that on Saturday 7th, at around lunch hour, police officers went to Albert's father's family and found the father, the mother, Albert, the wife, and the little boy, and other family members preparing to have lunch. The police officers introduced themselves. They came riding on motorbikes. There's a nearby police station about 1 kilometer or 2 away. And so they were accompanied by local police officers. They introduced themselves and said that they were DCI officers from Nairobi. They're pursuing a matter in which Albert is a person of interest. And so they asked Albert to accompany them to the nearby police station, called Mawego Police Station, where Albert and his family followed him. Actually, his father followed him to that nearby police station and found him being interrogated in the presence of the local OCS. At around 4 p.m., it was taken into a Subaru vehicle that was parked at that station and driven off to Nairobi. Well, it is true that between Homa Bay, or between Mawego, the place is actually called Mawego, to Homa Bay, Albert had the occasion to speak with people. He had occasion to speak with his family, with his father, with his wife, and friends, and it informed them that he was okay.
While in transit?
While on transit.
Okay.
Although at the time they were leaving the village station, he was not told which, sorry, he was told that he would be taken to Mazingira. Mazingira is the name for DCI headquarters.
Yes.
But upon arrival in Nairobi, he called back his family and said, no, I'm being taken to Central Police Station.
Okay. Do you know what time they arrived in Nairobi?
I am aware that they are friends of Albert who, upon hearing that their friend had been arrested and was on his way to Nairobi, rushed to Central. And that was around 9:30 to 10
p.m.
Yes, they were informed that, yes, that gentleman is here, but you'll not be able to see him. You'll see him tomorrow morning. So that gives me the understanding that between 9 to 10, they had arrived in.
He was already at the station.
Yes.
At what point did he call the wife?
Well, he had just arrived in Nairobi, so I would take it still around 9.
Okay.
Yes.
So all this so far, it checks that they came to home, they took him to local police station, he was interrogated there, he was then transported all the way to Nairobi, and he had access to his phone.
Yes.
And he was communicating with his friends and family.
Yes.
Up to this point, until the moment when 9:30 friends go and they are not able to see him.
Yes.
Then, what do you know?
What I know is that as soon as he was arrested, he and his father placed a call to me and asked for advice on what happens when somebody is arrested. I advised them and told them that since this arrest is happening on a Saturday, you guys will certainly be here tonight, and tomorrow being a Sunday, nothing will happen. So what you need to do, look for some money, come to Nairobi. Come after your son to Nairobi. Look for some money that we will use on Monday to process cash bill for him. What I know is that that same night, the father traveled. And when he called me the next day, that was Sunday on 8th, at around 10, I was in church, I was not able to pick calls. But after calling several times without me being able to pick, then he sent a text and said, my son is dead.
At what time?
That was around 12.
Midnight?
12 midday.
Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay.
So I left church and drove straight to Central Police Station, where I was able to speak with the OCS, and the OCS told me that indeed the gentleman is dead, and the information we have is that he hit his head several times on the cell wall. He also informed me that he was being held in isolation.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there a reason given?
No reason given. And remember, that was a long weekend because Friday was a holiday.
Yes.
And so certainly people who are arrested on Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all in the cell. So there would be no justification. I do not even think that Central Police Station would have sufficient space to have somebody be held in a separate cell.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that, just as we continue to learn more about the account you know and what the state is saying, have you known the family for a long time, Albert's family?
Yes, I've known the family for a long time, though not Albert, because they don't live up country, they live at the coast. Yes.
Okay.
So Albert was born and brought up at the coast.
So you know the family, the extended family?
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
And the Meshach.
Yes.
You've known Meshach for a long time.
And their larger family.
And that's why when they call you, it's people that you knew.
Yes, yes.
And an issue that they tell you, we can sort you out, we need your advice as a lawyer.
Yes.
You pick it up immediately.
Sure.
So on Sunday, when you now go to Central Police Station and you find the OCS and he gives you the account, and do you ask the father how he learned of his son's death?
Yes, I did. And the father did tell me that he had arrived that early morning at 4 a.m. He had traveled overnight.
Yeah.
And so he had arrived at the bus park at 4 a.m. and stayed there up to around 6. Then he walked to Central and arrived there just around 7. He was immediately not informed of the happenings at Central. He was told that you will see your son, but there's still stuff that we do, routine stuff, like counting people in cells, roll call, things like that. And so that went on and on until 10 a.m. That's when he was now summoned to the office of the OCS, who now led him to the office of the OCPD, who broke the news to him. So between 7 a.m. when he arrived first at the Central Police Station, he did not have any information until
11, 10.
Around 10.
Around 10,
Yes.
that's when he's learning of this.
Yes.
Is he aware what charges or why his son was arrested by this time? Are you aware as a lawyer?
When they called me first at the point of arrest, that was Saturday around lunch hour, they told me that my son is being arrested for allegedly defaming a Mukubwa.
Yeah.
These DCI officers who have come to pick him up are saying he has written something bad about our boss, but they didn't give details about who this boss is. Yeah.
When did you learn who the boss is?
Up to now, let me say that up to now, I do not have that publication that it said that, because all I have are just stories. It could be this, it could be this. We have not been informed what the publication was. We have not been informed what, and in what medium it was published. Was it on, we are told it's social media, so was it Facebook, was it Twitter, was it WhatsApp? We do not know up to now.
Right.
And did you know the complainant?
I came to know about the complainant when the IG gave his first presser at Central the next day. That's when he said that it is true that the deputy IG had filed a complaint against this gentleman. But between the time I got the first call from the family up to the time the news of his death was broken, we did not know.
You had no knowledge of what...
All we know is that the DCI officers who picked him up said he defamed a Mukubwa, and we didn't know who this Mukubwa is.
Nothing on the OB?
Right.
There was no OB. When I went to Central Police Station, we asked, where is the OB? There was no OB. And again,
the police station he was taken to in Homa Bay, was there an OB there?
the information I gathered from his father is that as soon as he was picked up and taken on a motorbike to that nearby police station, the father also has a motorbike, so he picked his motorbike and immediately rode to that police station. When he arrived, he found his son in the office of the OCS being interrogated. He did not see any entry on the OB.
The current book.
Yes.
There's so many constitutional arguments as well, right? In this case, you know, we've been reading a lot about Article 49. Are you also going to pursue arguments based on an affront to the Constitution? I know right now it's still very much trying to hold the family, pursue this, but as well, there's a constitutional circumvention here, right?
Certainly. Yesterday we were in court when the OCS was presented for an application to keep him for some time. And his lawyers were arguing Article 49 that we are talking about, which, yes, is true. Article 49 exists, and every arrested person has the right provided under that article, the right to be released on bail, the right to be presumed innocent, and all those rights. But remember, the Constitution provides two sets of rights. There are rights that are unlimited, and there are rights that can be limited. Now, life is a right that is not limited. If somebody takes away your life, it's gone. You cannot revisit it. But being kept in custody for 10 days, for 20 days, for investigations to be completed is a small inconvenience. So yes, the people could argue constitutional provisions, the right to be presumed innocent, the right to be to liberty. But yes, those are limited rights. The law provides circumstances under which your rights that are limited can be temporarily suspended. Yes.
Okay, interesting.
What does this case look like? It's the state versus?
Yes, it's the state versus whoever IPOA will present as the mastermind.
So now, this officer Mukhwana, the OCS for Central Police, Samson Talam, what are they right now? Are they persons of interest? Are they suspects? Have they been charged with anything?
There are, yes, persons of interest. There are, yes, suspects. Reason being that reasons being that investigations are still ongoing. And so as at now, IPOA has not been able to tell us that we have zeroed in on so-and-so, and these are the people that we are certain committed this heinous act, and these are the people we are presenting to court. So as at now, they are being treated as suspects. There's the possibility that they could be the people who will be charged in court, or there's the possibility that after conclusion of the investigations, they might be found to have nothing to answer.
We're just about to get into a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about the testimony given by Constable James Mukhwana, who amended his statement, what he said earlier, what he said yesterday, the changes that have occurred, and we'll just try and thread what's happening as far as the testimony that's coming out, whether people are throwing each other under the bus, and whether we will get to the ultimate culprit, hopefully. We're about just to go on break, but right now, hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV. If you have any questions, of course, for Julius, please do tag us and send them our way. We'll be answering them. We'll also accept calls on 0719-038-858, 0719-038-858. We'll be right back after this.
So back to our conversation with Wakili, and there's a question that you'd asked him, Mariam, before we took the break.
Right.
Right?
What had I asked him?
Okay. So, Wakili...
No, it's, yeah, you had asked something. It'll come to me.
It'll come. It'll come. There's, you know, the chronology of what has happened since then, what the family is pursuing, what then we are seeing the statements being made and the statements being recanted, another statement being made like this one by Police Constable Mukhwana in custody. What do you make of it when you see that he had made an initial statement to IPOA and then he sought to change that statement and make a different statement with IPOA?
From what
Does
I
that give you confidence that this is leading somewhere?
I certainly believe it is finally leading somewhere. I think the statements that were given initially, especially by that police constable, was in self-preservation. Like I said, when this news first broke out, everybody that was mentioned or that was called to answer was overly defensive. People were saying stuff or things that were meant to defend themselves, to remove them from the scene, to remove them from focus. And that constable, if I read what he said yesterday, he said that there had been an attempt by them that were involved to cover for each other. And then when he realized that it was being thrown under the bus, then so he came out and said, no, look, we had agreed to cover for each other, but these people seem to be throwing me under the bus. So let me come out and tell the real story as it unfolded. So yes, I believe that the second story that he gave most definitely will be the right one, because now he's saying it knowing that he is already a person of interest, maybe charged, or maybe a state witness, whatever the investigators and the prosecutors shall decide, but is a person in focus right now, either as a prospective accused person or as a witness. So he's coming out to say what he knows, and I believe he has not said all. Because I also heard that he was asking for protection. When you ask for protection, it means you believe you are at the center, you are in the bull's eye. So you want to be assured of your safety or of your security before you can spill more beans.
It's interesting about protection. I'm also wondering whether that's something you're concerned about for the family, for Albert's family, for Meshach and all, whether you're also pursuing just some protection for them as this case unfolds.
Certainly, everybody that is on the family side, including us, feel a little bit exposed. And we have been pursuing some form of protection for the family because we do not really know who we are dealing with.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a fair point. Have you requested any officers to step down, step aside? We've been talking about stepping aside a lot. As part of your pursuit of justice, have you made any requests to say, I believe so-and-so needs to step down?
We have not made a formal request for anybody to step aside. Because for us, this thing found the family unawares. The family was never prepared that such a thing was going to happen between and among them. And so we felt that it would be wise or fair that we allow IPOA, we allow Internal Affairs Unit, and any other investigative agencies, including civil societies, to do their part, so that they bring to us who they believe murdered this gentleman. Only until then that we shall take definitive legal decisions. But as at now, we have not asked anybody to step aside, whether that exists or not, or to resign, or to be interdicted, or whatever. Yes.
Okay. We have a caller on the line just as we continue this conversation. Christopher from Lake Victoria is on the line. Believe wants to make a contribution to this conversation. Good morning, Christopher.
Good morning.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sasa mimi maoni yangu unaona kulingana na
Sorry, Christopher.
Mohamed, yes.
Unaweza punguza volume ya TV ama radio kwanza so that we can hear you vizuri.
Punguza. Nimepunguza.
Okay, go ahead.
Sasa mtu kama Mohamed Amin yeye anatakana awe arrested kwa sababu wakati walikuwa wanatoa maoni yake katika bunge alisema yeye hawana authority ya kupata order from anywhere ya kuarrest Ojwang, kwa sababu yeye kama yeye alikuwa na order ya kutoka kokote ya kushika Ojwang, anajua, kwa sababu kama yeye anajua Ojwang alikuwa kwa mikono safe wakati alishikwa na anajua Ojwang alielekezwa wapi, kwa nini kesho yake ipatikane Ojwang amekufa? Na kulikuwa na mamlaka ya serikali kule, kulikuwa na mahakama, kulikuwa na institutions zote za serikali Homa Bay ambapo zinge hold hii maneno, hata kama kweli complainant alikuwa Nairobi au complainant, where are they now? Wale walikuwa na lagati ambao wanajua kwamba hii kesi ilikuwa, manaka sema complainant walikuwa Nairobi ndio apelekwe. Where are they now? Because complainant ilisemekana, Mohamed alisema Amin na kwamba complainant ndio ilifanya Ojwang atolewe wapi? Homa Bay to Nairobi.
Yeah.
Unaona? Na today some cases we are doing virtually. Ni ukweli?
Ni ukweli.
Kuna kesi unaweza kuwa Nairobi na unafanyia advocate wako afanyia Mombasa.
Ni kweli, Christopher.
Hakuna kitu nyingine hapo wanaweza kudanganya. Mohamed Amin pia angekuwa arrested now.
Thank you.
Because he knew where Ojwang was headed. Bado alikuwa anatolewa na alikuwa anapelekwa mikono safe.
Ni ukweli. Thank you, Christopher.
Asante sana, Christopher.
Thank you, Christopher. Tumekupata. And I think Julius will speak to what he's saying. There's several things that can thread from that. He's right. And yesterday we spoke about what situations would require, with Suleiman Bashir, would require you to be transferred, right? From the area where you were arrested, brought all the way to Nairobi, mambo ya resourcing, logistics, all of that. And we spoke to that. But did it make sense for this case? Two, if indeed, as it's seeming to come out, that there was no formal complaint, nothing in the occurrence book, then how do we seek justice for Albert, not just with the people who murdered him, but then with the people who facilitated this? Because if indeed he was picked up by the DCI, he was picked up by the DCI, they said as much. If he was picked up by the DCI without a formal complaint, then that's an illegality as well. All these things, it's like you said, it's an onion of rot. We're just peeling layer after layer.
The chronology of this story from the point of initial arrest at Mawego up to the point he's brought to Nairobi and finally found dead, there should have been several OB records at every instance.
Right.
The first OB record should have been at the point that the complainant registered a complaint with the police station. A criminal process starts with the complainant reporting to a police station and telling the police, I have this issue against so and so. That complaint will be recorded in an OB, and the OCS, as the head of station, will minute it to a particular officer to take it up. Now, that particular officer will commence the process of investigations, which will involve first recording the statement of this complainant, and then inviting prospective witnesses to come and record their statements. Only then, if the officer handling this matter is satisfied that there's a crime, that he will either summon the suspect or arrest. Remember, it's not always a requirement in law that a prospective suspect in a criminal matter be arrested. The law says you can be summoned, Section 52 of the Police Act. You can be summoned to come to the station and answer to questions relating to a particular complaint against you. Only if you fail to honor that summon that you will be arrested. Now, assuming that there was actually a complaint against this gentleman, there should have been an OB record at a particular police station where this complaint was first registered. The next thing that would have followed is either for him to be summoned to report to that station and answer questions, or be arrested if he failed to honor that. We do not see that in this chronology. Now, he is now picked at Mawego and driven to Nairobi. Who said that he should be taken to which station? Because remember, if there is no OB record, it means there is no police station handling this matter.
Right.
Because it is the police station handling the matter where you ordinarily would be booked. Now, if this was recorded at, remember, DCI headquarters is not a police station. DCI headquarters is not a police station. So
you can't get an OB from the DCI headquarters?
Certainly not, because it's not a police station.
Okay.
Yes. Because if a complaint is raised there, that's why you may have noted that many a times when DCI headquarters arrest people, they book them at a police station.
True.
Because they don't have cells. They don't have a police station. Now, we don't have an OB. We don't have an OB showing there was a complaint against this gentleman. We don't have an OB saying that he was arrested and taken to Mawego. We don't have an OB saying that he was finally booked at Central Police Station, and many other OBs. So yes, who decided that he be arrested? There are police stations around. Why didn't the police officers in the neighborhood handle the matter? There are courts in Homa Bay County, more than 5 courts. Why was he not taken to any of the 5 courts in Homa Bay County? If they were not comfortable with Homa Bay County, Kisii County is nearby, Kisumu County is nearby, and Migori County is nearby. Why didn't they take them to any of the police stations there and to any of the courts there? Certainly there was a reason he was driven 400 kilometers to Nairobi.
Yeah. Even everything that we're talking about speaks to a system that often violates the Constitution, to be fair. And you might have alluded to this, but are you confident that these same systems can also provide justice in this case, the courts, or are you feeling like you're bracing yourself for a fight beyond the courtroom? Or are you confident that, given the legal system that we have, we will get justice for Albert? And if not, are you bracing yourself for a much bigger fight to ensure his justice?
Now, as to whether we will get justice for Albert or not depends on many other factors. Because getting justice for Albert starts from the point of investigations, starts from trying to dig out this story to find out the truth, so that we find a gentleman that we zero in on. Once we get that person, we move that person to the court corridors. So as far as investigations are concerned, we at the moment do not want to really comment. Because one, it's only IPOA that can handle this matter right now. And the IPOA commission that we have right now is just about 5 months old. They have not really had any substantial work to do. So we would want to give them the benefit of doubt to see if they are going to use this case to identify themselves, so that going forward, we know that we have had previous IPOA commissioners, but this one is distinguished because of this work that they have done. Now, once they have done their work, and properly so, and they bring us the culprit, we believe that the courts can handle. Yes. So we have trust in the courts. Yes.
You've mentioned very many instances there where there's clear flouting and contravention of the law and the police standing orders. Police standing orders are clear on complaint, how you record it, arrests, how the decisions are made, conduct of arrest and all, and so on and so forth. And you're saying that you've seen so many glaring gaps. As a lawyer who's practiced even beyond this particular case, have you ever come across such gaps before? I mean, is this commonplace in police where you go and find leo hakuweka kwa OB, kesho alishika mtu akasema hujamshika, and so on and so forth?
Well, there are occasions when they would arrest somebody and fail to record it in the OB, but that is when they really do not want to move the case forward. Because if the intention is actually to go through the entire criminal justice process from the point of registering a complaint up to court, up to final judgment, then certainly without those gaps being filled, it's a case that will go nowhere. Yes.
And
so that whenever a suspect is arrested and is not booked, it means there's no complaint, because the first point of registering a complaint is the OB.
It means it's intimidation, probably, not anything to do with the legal justice system.
Sure.
And extortion. We're given an example here of another by Wakili yesterday, who was telling us of a client of his who was arrested and taken to the home of a complainant and forced to apologize and commit to pay the money that he owed that other person. That happens. Are these stories that you've heard as a lawyer?
That is not a criminal offense.
Exactly. Let's start there. Yep.
Those are stories that I know. Yes, I have handled them myself too. Situations where people convert civil disputes to criminal. Somebody probably owes you money and is not ready and willing to pay it immediately. You go and get a police friend and use the police friend to intimidate this guy. So when this guy is arrested, certainly he will not be booked. You'll be taken to the police station. Probably you are ushered into a room and you are forced to negotiate.
Right.
Gosh, I mean, it's flouted so many things. Oh, Mariam, I wanted to read something.
Just a question from Game Changer, who's asking Wakili, if Mukhwana gives a different story later, a third version, since we have seen even IG Kanja giving a different account to the point of apologizing that he had the wrong information, what happens? Could they not be buying time for something?
If you were to give a third version of his story or a fourth and a subsequent one, it will now go to the questioning of his credibility
as a witness.
Yeah, because the first change of heart would be justifiable, because he's trying to explain that initially we had agreed to cover for each other, but it seems now I'm being thrown under the bus, so I have to come out and give the real story. But if he were to change again and again, then the question of his credibility and as to whether he can stand as a witness in court will be brought to fore.
What if somebody else, do you have a caller?
No, we don't have a caller.
What if somebody else, one of these other people that he has mentioned, comes out and says, Akiwacha mimi niwaambie ukweli, gives another whole different account? Who do we believe? Comes and says, ni kweli, sawa, tulikuwa na Mukhwana, but then everything else that Mukhwana has said.
The starting point is that, as of now, all of them are persons of interest, and they may have played different roles to achieve one goal. So that at the end of the day, what everybody is coming out to say, whether they are recanting the initial stories or now giving what they are telling us is the real story, the idea is they want to protect themselves. So if somebody that maybe Mukhwana has mentioned comes out to say, no, what he's saying is not true, the real truth is this, it's because they are trying to preserve themselves.
Okay. Something else here, Wakili. If we just go by Mukhwana's statement, Mukhwana seems to implicate that there are some other inmates who are in the cells who were called and were made to perform this torture. Okay? Now let's talk about those other inmates. I mean, just casually looking at it, sounds like, they are collaborators with the police. So do they live in the police cell? I mean, are they part of the, right? So what would you say about those inmates? And I'm sure you've heard of such cases. Is it somebody who's just arrested constantly and therefore they have been so finished that they don't have their rights? Whatever you're told by the cop to do is what you do.
Certainly, if that is what happened, the cops would have been imagining that if they did this torture themselves, or if they used somebody else to effect this torture, then they would be either less guilty or they would be off the hook. That's why they would have, if it is true, bought somebody else's services to execute this torture for them. And so these people, prima facie, on the face of it, they are as guilty as the person who bought them. They are as guilty as the person who instructed them to execute this act. The only question is whether they did it willingly. We are told that they were bought for alcohol and they were given some cash. Were they free to decline? If they were free to decline...
Given that they were in police cells.
Yes. Certainly they would have been told that if you do this, the reason for which you were arrested, we are going to wipe it out. Then we are giving you some cash here, and so you are going to walk free. So were they free to say yes or no?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, did they know that they were torturing this guy and consequences of it? What are the consequences? So prima facie, without going into details, because we don't know what IPOA is going to decide to do with these people, they're as guilty as the people who hired them to do this job.
Okay.
Yes.
Does Central have CCTV? I'm seeing question. What are the chances that data recovery can get hold of the CCTV footage from Central Police Station? Michael Ndegwa, CCTV footage can go missing. If it was the prisoners that tortured Albert, why would there be need to tamper or delete the footage? Lots of question around CCTV. Can the police have body cameras? The CS promised to have CCTV in all police stations. But yes, I've heard stories that Central does already have CCTV cameras. Is this true?
Yes, even when I was there, I could see cameras. As to whether they were functional or not, I wouldn't know.
Other story.
Yes, but I could see cameras. I know, Central, like they said yesterday in court, is the mother of
police stations,
in the country. Yes, so I could see cameras all over. So whether they are functional or not, but again, if the cameras exist and they were functional, and now we are told that footages were deleted. Why were the footages deleted? It's because whoever committed this did not prepare himself for the aftermath.
Exactly.
Yes. He did not know that this thing was being captured. He did not know that somebody could come out and speak. He did not know perhaps that this family would get the kind of support that they're getting today to speak about the murder of their son. So that is why now they come back to undo what has happened.
Tampering with evidence.
Yes.
You know, Albert's death is a moment of outrage. It's a symbol of sorts. But what do you hope can come out of it? How do you hope it can be a legal and civic turning point of what needs to happen in custody, in arrests? What needs to happen going forward, Julius? Because it's a moment of outrage. It's critical. It's allowing us to have these conversations. After all this, how do you hope? What kind of changes do you need to see in the system so that there are no more deaths in custody, unwarranted arrests and the like?
Thank you. Yesterday I listened to the CS Mukhwana talking about reforms, including installation of CCTV cameras across stations across the country. And I am happy for the response that former CS Moses Kuria gave, that as for Central, the cameras were there and they captured the incident, only that they were deleted. So some of these things do not happen because we do not have laws. No, we have laws. Some of these things do not happen because that the reforms that the CS was talking about do not exist. They exist. The thing is about police culture. The thing is about historically, what has the police culture been? Will these things change even by installation of CCTV cameras across the country if the culture does not change? They won't. So for me, the greatest turning point would be for the police to understand that if you commit a criminal offense in the course of your duties, you are solely liable. You are personally responsible. It doesn't matter that you are ordered by somebody else. Remember, it is not rather a defense to say that I was directed to commit an unlawful act. The law says that your superior can put pressure on you, but if you know that whatever I'm being told to do is illegal, is against the law, is criminal, refuse. And remember, these senior people that they at times say I was acting under their instructions, never give these instructions in writing.
It's always verbal.
Verbal. And so tomorrow when you go, come out and say I was instructed, you will be asked, where is the evidence that you were instructed? Yes, so the turning point would be, let whoever was involved, however, how mighty that person is, take personal responsibility.
Indeed.
Let the people of Kenya see that however big you are, you can be sentenced to jail. You can stand trial and a judge can find you criminally liable and guilty and sentence you. Only then that junior police officers will learn and see that, kumbe, I can actually, it doesn't matter who instructed me, I can actually be sentenced.
I can face the consequences.
Yes.
Wakili, stay on, because in the next hour we want to talk a bit more also about the family and the pursuit for justice and beyond this, because you're a lawyer, you've dealt with these matters and therefore you're dealing with the criminal justice system. We talk about reforms in its entirety and how it looks like. Here's one of these instances where whenever I talk about the law is there and Mariam will push back and say, but the system, I agree about the system. In some cases, I feel that a very good person, brother of yours, joins the police service, gets into that system, and they are then a victim of that system, that you don't have a way out. You're told by your senior, you do this, you will do it. And you know, if you say no, you'll die. Anyway, let's take a break. We'll be back shortly with Wakili Julius Juma, who's representing the family of Albert Ojwang, Mzee Mesha Kopio, the mom Yukabith Adhiambo, and of course, the widow Nivina Onyango. Back in a moment. It's 8 a.m.